Thank you. So
Absolutely.
I'm Angela Cason, founder of Tempo in 2010. What did I give Estee Lauder that they didn't have? Scientific bona fides. They didn't know how to talk about their products. What did I do for Brute? I gave them a future. And what did I do for the Office of National Drug Control Policy for the Clinton White House? I gave them a very powerful way to talk to young people about drugs by partnering them with Marvel Comics. These are just a few examples of the kind of creative background that I bring to bear in the digital world now. And I'll show you how I make it work. If you have a business, whether you know it or not, you're at war. You're at war with your competitors. You're at war with technology, with a robot that's trying to take your job. You're at war with the changes of COVID. You're at war every day. There's always something getting thrown at you. And you cannot go into this casually. You've got to have a battle plan. I have a proven way of working with my clients. I call it the battle plan. It has 4 parts. I'm going to walk you through it. This is how I do it. So the first part of this is magnitude. The second is intent, plan, and then deployment. Magnitude has 2 parts, the scope and the readiness. The scope is, what are we trying to deal with? Nobody is big enough, unless you're Coca-Cola, maybe, to deal with everything that you're dealing with. And this is part of, the 5 forces, Porter's 5 forces. This is kind of what I'm getting clients to focus on. What chunk of this are we going to try and deal with the toolbox that I bring? So the scope for my Yale client was COVID-19, all online courses. All of a sudden, they weren't teaching anybody on campus. All of the visiting students from domestic colleges who would come to the campus to take courses couldn't come. None of the foreign students, they used to get like 50 Chinese students to come, couldn't come, and they couldn't send anybody abroad. All of their study abroad courses were canceled. In terms of readiness, their marketing budget was cut by 2/3. Readiness is something you can never leave out when you're talking to a client, because sometimes they're just not ready to work with you. It may be an emotional problem that they have with spending the money. Sometimes that's a problem for an entrepreneur. More often, it's something that's actually procedural or operational in their company. So they might have a sales team that's really not ready to gear up. If I'm going to start throwing business to somebody as fast as I can do it, I need to know what their readiness is to deal with that. And so that's part of the conversation that I work with when I'm working on the magnitude for the client. That's a very important part of the conversation. Where are they in their readiness to do this? It's kind of fun. Sometimes people will talk a bold game and then you come back at them and you realize they're just not ready. Okay, so once we've got the magnitude of the problem that we're going to work on, that we're going to attack, figured out, we look at the intent. The target and the intent are the 2 pieces of this. The target was Yale students only, because remember, I couldn't go after domestic, I couldn't go after foreign, I couldn't do anything. So I can only talk to the Yale students. I've narrowed my target down. There are 3 parts of the intent. What do I want them to think? What do I want them to feel? And what do I want them to do? You guys know this, you're all marketers. I want them to think that there are cool courses that they can take online in the summer. I want them to feel that they're going to miss out on something if they don't do it, that there's something wonderful that they're not going to learn. And of course, I want them to apply. So I've got the intent, client's on board with it. Next comes the magic that I make, which is blending the creative and the media. I plan both at the same time. The first part of the plan was to look at making this shareable and memorable. So I created a hashtag YSS you can, Yale summer session, but also yes you can. Makes it very easy, makes it very catchy, makes it a lot of fun for the students, and they can remember it. So this became the underlying hashtag for our campaign. The next thing I did was enlist spoke students, because of course, remember, I want FOMO. So these guys were having a great time, these guys were doing well, they look great, they're happy. They became the people who talked about the program. So I took testimonials from them, and we took their photographs and we took video, and they became our spoke students. Now, one of the important places where my creative and media capabilities come together is in the planning. Because I know that I'm going out into various social media, I know I'm going to need a lot of creative assets. I'm going to need vertical shots. I'm going to need horizontal shots. I'm going to need square shots. I'm going to need video. I'm going to need audio. So when we planned this campaign, in one day, we shot 8 students and shot all of that for all 8 students. It seems like a big challenge, but if you're smart and logistic, we got it done. And then when we were ready to run everything, I had all the assets I needed. A new platform comes up. TikTok didn't exist when we ran this. It's okay. I've got the video in the can. I can make it happen. So I can go across posts. I can tell stories. I can do video ads. I can do message ads, and I can do radio because I've already got it ready to go. I work across every conceivable paid digital medium. I don't do any content creation. I don't see the point in it. It's not proven. And every single one of these guys is trying to monetize their work by charging money for advertising. So they're not showing your free stuff. That's why I pay them. So I look at all of the ones that we might need, and I create a media plan. For this client, it looks something like this: heavy on the social media advertising. The sponsored emails, that was for the Yale Daily News, which the students were getting. So we ran banners in the sponsored emails. Search targeting, of course. Retargeting, absolutely. Great money-saving way to keep getting awareness out of your students. And of course, YouTube and Instagram. We also ran search in case people were looking for Ivy League summer courses and weren't thinking about how to get it. We wanted to make sure that they understood that they could get it at Yale. Believe it or not, Yale students don't always know that Yale offers summer courses. So they might go search it and go somewhere else. We don't want them going to Harvard. That would be terrible. Now we're into deployment. So we're measuring all of this. We're looking at this. I've got the Yale ads running up here. This is the result there. And then of course, once they've gone and looked at that ad, I'm going to retarget them with banners. And these were pre-done. We do them in all the sizes we could possibly need. They're programmatically served so that if somebody responds to a website or looks at anything that we do, I can retarget them until they either enroll or hate me forever. And then comes adaptation. They say in a battle that no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Now, because this is a school, their enrollment numbers are private. I'm not privy to that. I have to depend on talking to the client to know how different courses are going. TikTok is a new medium. This is the statistics for the TikTok that we just ran. And these are results from 10 days. Look how fast this went. We got over 1,800 clicks in 10 days for a budget of under $800. So we knew this was working really well for us, but I wasn't sure that I liked it or depended on it. Because I've grown up I started this in 2010, remember? So I've been growing up through all the maturation of all of these platforms. And that means that I know the pace at which they really start to work well. TikTok's pretty new, so I don't quite trust its algorithm yet to deliver the targeted kind of results that I know that I'm going to get from a Facebook, or I know that I'm going to get from a LinkedIn. I know that I can hyper target. You can't really hyper target on a new platform like TikTok yet. It's still pretty broad. It's pretty like classic demographics, but I know that this is my target age, so I wanted to test it. We're very happy with the test results so far, but I'm pulling back until the last minute. And then if we feel like we need to fill up the course in the final couple of weeks, I'll turn it back on. I'll take a little budget out of Facebook. I'll turn it back on and we'll get a few more results in there. So far, the results look pretty clean, but like I said, it went really fast and I don't always trust that. So that's experience. So with creative media and analytics all together, last summer, I was able to deliver $5 million in revenue to the Yale client. This is the highest they've ever gotten for their summer session. Pretty incredible. So who do you know who needs a battle plan for their next million? I think you can see that I've got a pretty good approach here. It's pretty thorough and well thought through. Part of what I'm doing here is I want to make sure that clients understand what's happening and I want their trust. So, you know, a marketing director at a trade association. I've worked for the Italian Trade Association. I'd love to work for another trade association. How about an educator, a dean or admissions officer, especially at a private school? They're looking at the same problems that Yale is, or not-for-profits. I serve on a lot of boards, so I'm happy to work with development or board members who are looking to polish up what they're doing and reach new audiences. Not-for-profits are having incredible years this year with donations, and they need to make sure that they're using these tools properly. As I say, if you need people to call you, call me. Thank you.
Okay, you still have 4 minutes. Questions in the chat. I had a question. Can you share what the budget was for this, both media and non-media?
Total budget for Yale last summer was, marketing budget was 150, I think. I cut it, or cut it, no, I'm sorry, 100,000, because I cut it 2/3. So I did all that for 100,000. Pretty good return, huh?
And that includes the media? Wow.
The creative was done the year before. The creative was not in that budget.
I see.
That was the media budget.
100K media.
Yeah.
Okay. And roughly the creative was a third of that?
No, creative, 20%? We shot all that and did it for, I'm going to say by the time I got everything finished, about 30,000. Tight. Nobody spends big money anymore.
Oh my God.
If you've got a big spending client, I can take an Estee Lauder budget and create it for them, but you know, that's a Patrick DeMarchelier shot. You know, I don't see a lot of that work anymore.
Yeah. Impressive. I like the breadth of it in terms of certainly in terms of the channels you're using.
Anybody else?
Other questions?
I like the focus, how clear you are with the focus, who you're targeting, how you're going after them. And I like that you said you're testing TikTok, but you're not relying on TikTok, because a lot of people, once you get like a new player in the game, everything shifts to that. Like that becomes like the Jesus of everything. And I like the fact that you're on target, you're testing it, you're playing with it, you understand it, but you're not relying on it. And I think that's really important for all of us to learn. We have to be current, like everybody. I don't know what's going on now with Clubhouse. It's like the latest thing since, God bless America. Yeah. If it's good, bad, or indifferent, who knows? But the idea is to be current with it, just to understand that I spoke to people recently, they have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. So again, I think that for all of us in this business consulting arena, the idea that we're on trend, and that what I love what you're doing is that you're testing the trend. You're not relying on the trend. And I thought that was great in the presentation. And just the way you split it up, how carefully you are designing this to go forward. It's not spaghetti on a wall. And I love that.
Thanks. I think that in the media planning, as you said, you can't chase the shiny object. You have to be very careful about that. But also people are coming to you in a lot of different ways. And the challenge for clients now is you've got to be everywhere. And how do you do that? And how do you do that in a way that makes sense for you as a brand? So thank you. Yeah, I try and push a couple of things, but like you said, there's always something new to test, but we want our clients to understand that that's what's happening. We don't put a lot into it yet. So Kevin, did you have a question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Have you seen any people using different, I know you did a Google AdWords campaign, but what about like Bing and some of the other, search platforms?
Sure. So Bing has been, we use it, and I kind of talk about, I don't use it for Yale summer session. I use it for Yale School of Management, who's another client targeting more business-like. And Bing is interesting now because they just bought LinkedIn. So they're starting to use, or last year they bought LinkedIn. So they're starting to use content groups that'll underpin what you're doing. They're starting to bring that knowledge into their search and refine. And Google's been doing this for a while. Like Google will combine their search. So they know if it's a target you've been looking at a lot, they'll accelerate the exposure to certain messages. Bing is starting to do that with their LinkedIn data. Microsoft Office is a default install on a lot of computers in the workspace. So we've always felt that Bing skews toward, we've always found that Bing skews toward Office results.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, time's up. We'll take one more question if there is one.
I do have one more question
Yeah.
for Angela. So I'm just curious, you on your last slide, you described the types of organizations that you work with, but have you worked with any lesser known yet large professional services firms, such as consulting, law firms, financial services? And
I
what would
haven't worked in the regulated space very much, like financial, simply because I just haven't, and there are a lot of specialists in that. I've worked with a ton of unknowns. I've launched a lot of new products. I've worked with a lot of people you never heard of.
So in professional services, is that what you're asking specifically, Sarita?
Yeah. And then
I've worked with lawyers. Again, that was one of those things where we kept sending him clients. He was like, no, I don't want this many clients. We're like, okay, we'll turn it off, So yes. Is there somebody you're thinking of?
Oh, no, I was just curious generally. And then again, to my latter question about the results in terms of, especially using like YouTube for monetization. What were the results in terms of developing the following? Because you have to reach 1,000 subscribers before you can monetize, if they even went that route. And then of course, you've already answered the question of generating revenue. They got a lot of clients, at least.
Yeah. I haven't isolated YouTube as a single focus, so I can't speak to that. I've used it as part of another plan, and I've used it as the host for, if you're using video in a lot of other media, you've got to put it on YouTube first to be able to pull it in, just to pull it into the platform. So I can't really speak to the sole monetization results of something like YouTube. So maybe
That's
somebody
great.
else here has.
Okay, thank you.
Guess not. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. That was fun.
Absolutely. So I am going to place in the chat the order in which people showed up. And that's the order in which we will do the 2-minute presentations, introductions, whatever you want to call it. So it'd be Rochelle, Sarita, Kevin, then Ken. So if you pick up in the chat, you'll see the list. And I will time, if everybody could go on mute other than, of course, the speaker, that would be great. So Rochelle, you're up.
Okay, it's okay. Hi there. So I always say it's Rochelle from Dynamic Business Growth and not Schlep Along Business Growth. And I think we don't want to schlep along right now, especially what's going on. So I find that a lot of companies struggle when it comes to describing what they do. So they sound like everybody else in their industry, everybody else in their vertical. And then when we're networking or at social events, if we meet 2 or 3 people in the same industry, how do you distinguish one from the other? I can't even tell you how many IT people I've met over time, they blend. How many accountants I've met over time, they blend. So how do we create value in our time, in our efforts when we do network? And I really believe that we need to create a way that we talk about what we do in a compelling way. So my question is always, are you storytelling or boring telling? Are we telling a story that highlights the skills that we've done, the skills that we have? And based on that story, I understand who you are and what you bring to the table. You did not drown me with facts and figures and dates and you did not do what I call an information dump. I'm excited to say that I am creating an online group program. I've done so much work in this area. I've done most of my work is one-on-one in this particular area. And I want to do it now more, I want to reach a larger audience across the country, et cetera. So in May, I don't have the exact date, around the 10th, I will be creating an online group for what I call the Ultimate Power Pitch program. And I want you to think about, people that you feel that are that are solo practitioners that need to understand how to speak about their business better, people that are in sales that need to convert what they say, that their conversations need to convert into revenue. So those are targets that I'd like you to think about, and then just give them my number and let me just have a conversation with them. So I want to leave you with, are you storytelling or boring telling?
Perfect timing. All right. Thank you so much. And that would be then Sarita, Kevin, then Ken. So Sarita, you are up.
Great. Great. Okay, well, small, mid-sized companies can still increase their sales in the international market, even during an economic downturn. And we saw this during the Great Recession, even with one of my clients during the pandemic. He was still able to export and continue to increase his sales despite what was going on with the global health pandemic and, of course, the retraction of the global economy. Why are they able to do this? That's by proper research, planning, and developing a strategy. So if you know of any companies, small, mid-sized companies that are looking to increase their sales by reaching consumers that want their goods or services, contact Grit. And where Grit comes in, we do the research, in-depth, customized market research, planning, and developing a strategy so that those companies can compete over the long term in the international market. So, Sarita Jackson with Grit with 2 eyes.
Okay, you have 2 eyes, absolutely. Um, uh, any example of a specific example? You still have 51 seconds.
Well, I guess I'll use the one that I started talking about with a gentleman that prior to the pandemic, I had worked with him, developed a roadmap. He was in the food services space and developed a roadmap for exporting agricultural goods actually to the United States. So I work with companies that are exporting to or from the United States. So he was exporting this product, looking to manufacture it into a healthy snack. Well, we had an 18-month plan, then the pandemic hit. Nonetheless, he was able to take portions of this plan and continue to at least what he was able to do despite the circumstances and at least get the project started. And he was able to do so. I just talked to him last week. He's still working on the project, at least getting his goods into the US, manufacturing it. And then the next step, once we get on the other side, is to start selling his healthy snacks here in the United States.
Very cool. Thank you. So import and export research.
Yes.
All right. Kevin, then Ken, then Howard. Kevin, you're up.
Yep. Hey, everyone. Good to see you all again. And Michael, thanks for having me back. I'm a branding customer relationship strategist, and what makes my work distinctive is that I focus on emotional insights and I bring behavioral science insights and approaches into my work. And the most important question that I help my clients answer is, why should people care about your brand? More successful brand leaders really understand what drives people's decisions, and they get people excited about what they're all about. So I help my clients focus on what makes them unique and desirable and why people should care. I help them understand their audiences better so they can more successfully connect, understanding needs, desires, frustrations. And what I'm doing is I'm helping them create what I call limbic sparks, which is the intersection of where emotional motivation meets brand desire. So I've done this for a few different types of clients. I have clients like the AT&T Performing Arts Center, where I transition their positioning from things that were all about them, like staging the amazing, which is what they, how they described their positioning. And I moved them to a territory which is now around yours to discover. And that was really moving from about us to for you. I help other companies with their capabilities, so they're not listing capabilities by departments and focusing more on what makes their offering distinct and desirable through the lens of what their customers care most about. And again, I'm turning emotional insights into a competitive advantage. So I don't know if I have time left, but I'll take questions if there is time left.
Got 17 seconds.
I could do
You
a
should
quick
meet,
one.
there's a new member named Mark Iorio who does cultural and brand sort of merging.
Fascinating.
Yeah, you can look him up on TrustRef under BCAT, BCAT.
Cool.
Yeah, which stands for like brand, cultural, something connection. I don't know. Brand and culture, something. Alignment, I think. I don't know what the T is. Okay, thank you. Ken, then Howard, then Ed.
Michael, I'm sorry, what was that person's name again?
Mark Iorio, Iorio, and you can find him under BCAT, BCAT, on trustref.net.
Hi, I'm Ken Simon, and I do I do, no, can't talk anymore. But I'm working with small and mid-sized companies, helping them, B2B companies mostly, helping them understand who their customers are, what their markets are, and what the best ways to reach them. I'm trying to work with mostly financial companies within the financial services arena, technology, and manufacturing. I've helped companies. I've worked with both startups and Fortune 100 companies, as you know, as well. I've helped companies understand what products to offer. I had an insurance client who was trying to figure out what markets to go after and what products to offer those markets, and didn't know how to do it. And even though they had a whole marketing department supporting them, I came in, interviewed all their salespeople to find out what their marketing appetite was. Then based on that, I knew what industries to target, what they could target, and then help them determine what products they needed to offer those markets by understanding what the customer's pain points were in each one of those markets, and then help them develop a strategy to go after those industries and based on what products and services they offer. I'm looking to re-energize my practice again. COVID sort of knocked me for a loop, and go and try to find more companies in the financial services industry. I'm trying to help where I could help these companies grow. I have other examples too, but that's one I think I haven't used yet in the last couple of meetings that I've attended. So.
When you say financial services, are you talking about like financial advisors or
No,
regional banks? Or?
No, not financial advisors, but insurance, banking, insurance and banking industry specifically. And with technology, I've worked with both software companies and the hardware companies.
Great, thank you. That was Ken, and then Howard, Ed, Joe. Howard, you're up. You're on mute. You're on mute, Howard.
There we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Howard Levy. I'm with Red Rooster Group, and we're a strategy firm that helps organizations go through transformations. Particularly, we work in the nonprofit sector. We've been doing that for about 30 years. Our 3 areas of focus are on brand strategy, helping organizations to create or revitalize, usually it's revitalize their brand. Hence our tagline, wake up your brand for Red Rooster Group. To bring in revenue. So we work a lot on fundraising campaigns, and to drive engagement. And I'll give you kind of 3 quick examples. On the brand transformation side, we recently helped an international agriculture and food research organization to split away from their international umbrella organization for the sector, and to create become a separate entity. And so we handled the brand strategy around positioning them in the marketplace and developing a new website for them. On the fundraising side, we're working with a nonprofit in California that runs 24 shelters or facilities for people who are homeless, and are handling all their fundraising. In our recent campaign, we helped raise $1.8 million for them. And on the engagement side, in terms of digital strategy to activate people to take action on behalf of an organization, we work with a group called the Genesis Prize. It's similar, it's been called the Jewish Nobel Prize. They award $1 million to a prominent person, and they were shifting from an elite selection process to a public nomination and voting process. And they were very worried about brand reputational issues and technology breaches and BDS coming in and so forth. And so anyway, we helped them to get over 200,000 people to vote and provide their email addresses, which was 3 times the amount they expected at half of the actual cost.
Okay. Thank you so much, Howard, the man to go to for not-for-profit in particular. Okay. Let's see, Ed Woolman, then Joe, then Jason. Ed, you are
Hi
up.
there. I'm Ed Woolman from Image Media, and my company specializes in working with primarily Fortune 500 clients to support their experiential engagements. And these would be, we do a lot of work on the B2B side. So many of these kinds of programs could be a leadership meeting, a national sales meeting, a customer program. And we design all the media and strategy for a live physical or virtual event. So obviously our history is to go off to Orlando or Los Angeles and deliver a program for 1,000 or 2,000 people. And we're designing everything for stage and screen in that case. So all the agenda, the live talent, the videos, the graphics, and so forth. Long, long list. In the last year, we made our shift to virtual. So working with clients who are looking to drive engagement with their key audiences, and these could be any number of audiences, leadership teams, sales audiences, and so forth. Drive engagement in a virtual space. The Zoom fatigue is probably our best friend because everybody recognizes that at some point we can't just all stare at boxes. And so coming up with cool, creative ways to get people involved is our gift to the world. We're having a really good time with that. A good example is some work we're doing for Kimberly-Clark. Last 5 years, we went off to stage a live program for them. This year, they recognize that if they don't inject some creativity into their program, it's going to be a flop. So awards presentations, sales presentations, training, all that falls under our umbrella.
Wonderful. And I know you also do you work well with, I should ask, event planners versus, because you focus production, right?
We focus on, as a creative agency, it's strategy and creative and production. So we take that full scope, but the people we talk to could be a meeting planner, could be a VP of sales, someone in corporate communications. It's pretty wide range. We have many points of entry into a corporation.
And Ed's background is what, Broadway stage production or no?
I started as a photographer and sort of fell into this business a long time ago, but yeah, visual, I guess, would be the
visual. Very cool. Okay, next is, let's see, Joe, then Jason, then Mark. Joe, you are up.
Great, thanks, Michael. Good morning, everyone. Joe Mag at Griffin Solutions. I help companies build IT departments to get the job done. My special sauce is a business-focused methodology. It's infused with years of experience bridging the gap between IT and the business, effectively marriage counseling for IT and the business. The relationship usually isn't very good, and we fix that. They engage me based on their trust. I'm gonna get the job done, usually based on the trust in whoever's referred me in. I'm typically referred in by other folks who are trusted advisors to the senior executives. My target market is $75 to $300 million. I'm mostly industry agnostic. My best prospects are a CEO or COO who maybe you get on a call and they go, and they're just not in a good mood. And you ask them why, and they go, hey, IT screwed up again. Gee, that's a shame. Does that happen very often? And if it does, what do you have to do when that happens? In essence, looking for what the cost is. It's typically true that most organizations who do not manage IT effectively, which is most organizations, are actually spending about 120% of their on paper IT budget on IT stuff because there's all this crap going on outside of IT to cover IT's not getting things done. So CEO, CFO, COO, or the IT responsible person who knows they're under the gun and needs help. So in the end, I build satisfaction with company and organization's IT shop. Questions?
And Joe is a sponsor and has been referring people in at a steady clip. In fact, the last person was Mark Iorio. He was also based in central Jersey, and Joe is based in Philly, right?
Just outside of Philly, yes.
Just outside of Philly. So thank you, Joe. And who did I say was next? That would be Jason, and then Mark Tebow.
Hi, guys. So I run a marketing agency called Get Visible. We are transcendent marketing, which means we get you ahead of your competition online. We focus on service providers, e-commerce, and I guess the truth is anybody can be a client of ours. It just happens to be. We do a lot of law firms and service-oriented businesses who are driving leads. Plus, we have e-commerce. And part of my business also is we invested in an e-commerce platform about 18 years ago, and it's grown very large. It competes technically with Shopify and Magento, but it offers a much faster path to getting online for more complex engineered websites, and much cheaper than a Magento solution for sure. So if you have a client that has some web component to transactions, whether it's membership or selling something, having tiered pricing, working through resellers, anything you can imagine where there's an online transaction component, this system probably can handle it. And the website I'll put in the chat, it's called Adricom. Sorry about that. And I wrote a book a bunch of years ago. I'll show it to you since I got my time, called I Need More Clients. So it's kind of a how-to guide on how to do digital marketing. We figured out that no one wants to do it, but they like to think they know how it works. So I wrote a book that basically says, here's all the things you can do, but I know you're really lazy, so you can hire me when you're finished reading it. And that's kind of the idea. I'm sure you all can share the same sentiments.
Not
So that's
even by the time they finish, if they get to chapter 2, they can have you on the phone.
Yeah, something like that. It's like a 2-hour read. It's very good. And I'm so funny because I'm not a type A person, but every page in the book ends in a sentence. There's no orphan text that goes from one page to the next. That's why it took me a month to edit this thing. There you go.
Wow. And those floors are really shiny.
You know what that is? It's an epoxy on the floor. So it's concrete underneath, and they do something, and then they put a layer of like plastic over it, like an epoxy, and it doesn't scratch and it doesn't get dirty. So like,
Wow.
if any of you have dogs and they do their business, it doesn't matter.
Wow. That's impressive. All right.
Or rabbits. We have rabbits too.
You have rabbits and dogs and kids too, or no? Then Mark Tebow.
I think Mark said he had to leave early.
Oh, Mark had to leave early.
Posted, yeah.
Oh, okay, he posted. So I will go. I'll put my timer on. I got to switch back to gallery view for some reason. They changed things so that I can no longer be speaker view as the host. So my name is Michael Bendit. In addition to founding this network, the Trusted Referral Network, I have a business that I've been running for about 10 years. Actually, it is 10 years in February, called Software Development Resources. And thank you. And I do sales for software development teams. And the reason people come to me is because I do have this breadth of capabilities behind me, and I match the team to the need and the need to the team. So I just recently got an inquiry for somebody who's looking to do a Shopify site that's going to require integration with a number of other things like Klaviyo and also some third-party social media, et cetera. And I have a couple of teams that can do Shopify, but one team that specializes in it. And so this is a little more complicated. And so I think, I'm going to refer that team into it because they're the best fit for it. The mix of teams that I have, it cuts across a number of different dimensions. So not only the platforms like Shopify and Magento and WordPress and et cetera, but also a mix of onshore and offshore, or all onshore or all offshore, because there's trade-offs between all of those. And my job is to understand what the client's looking for. Are they willing to spend a little more for that local domestic, work, or do they want to go offshore and save the money, and you could really offshore, you could pay 1/10 of what you pay onshore, depending on where you go, or somewhere in between. There's a lot of work I do is with my dual shore teams, which have some people here in the US and some people or most of their resources offshore. My best leads are in fact digital marketing agencies that do some of their own work, may have some of their own developers, but often, either run out of resources or they don't have the right skills in-house for the particular job that comes across the transom. And we also do work for startups. So we have 14 minutes. I wanted to update you on a few things.
Can I ask you
Angela.
a question, Michael? Are web designers good lead for you?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. So my teams tend to be very technically focused. So we work very well with agencies and designers and strategists who, make the decision as to what it's going to look like and who it's going to reach, but don't do the programming. So a few things. One is that you may have seen in my last newsletter email that I'm doing a push for expanding the group, the Spring Growth Program. And what that means is if somebody brings in 2 leads or 2 referrals that join, I'm going to move them up in the Trusted Referral Network listing to a featured listing. And what does that mean? I will show you what it means. Hold on, I got to share my screen. I'm going to share this. Okay, so here's the Trusted Referral Network. Whoops. Expand that out. And so if you go to marketing and sales, so that's everybody. If you just click that, featured shows up on top. So as you can see, my listing, as an example, shows up on the top. If I were to go within any group, so let's say one of the large ones is digital marketing. Right now it's sort of random the way these names show up, and it will show up based on, the featured will be listed on top. So looking for new members, particularly outside of the New York area, just because we're heavily New York centric. And also you have to, claim your listing to get featured. So, you'll need to fill out just here, like serial marketers has filled it out, for example, number of employees, average project size, and if they are providing a referral fee. Another thing I wanted to talk about briefly is I just had a call, speaking of serial marketers, with David Berkowitz, who many of you may know. Serial marketers is it's a community of about 2,000 or so members, all marketers. Very vibrant, lots of stuff going on, mostly on Slack, but he's got a bunch of other, he's got a website, and it's really just a community right now. He's trying to generate some revenue with a premium service as well, but we're going to be doing more joint programs. The difference between us and them is they focus on marketers both on the buying side and the selling side. We're only really sellers. So one of the things we're going to be doing is doing a jointly sponsored webinar, just like Rochelle did a couple of months ago, but this is on networking for introverts by a coach who specializes in communications coaching for business. And that's, I think, April, I'm not sure, it'll go out in the newsletter.